from WBBZ-TV Sports. It's time to beat the champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to the Halloween edition of Beat the Champ. My name is Paul Peck, along with Sue Novoitsky. Some people would say we've been masquerading as bowling announcers all year long, but here we are on Halloween weekend, our third week of action here at Island Lanes on Grand Island. And, Sue, no one is a scarier bowler to be your opponent right now than the red-hot Mike Zarcone. 4 wins in a row.
Isn't that the truth? He has been amazing up to this point, and we'll see what he can do today.
Yeah, and he's going to have to go through some new challengers, some veteran guys as well. We've got Tony Dolan on the show this week. We've got a bowler from here in Grand Island by the name of Jim Fox, and then the two-hander Chris Labiak. So if Mike Zarcone wants to keep this hot streak going, he's going to have to do some serious work.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see what he has in store for us on this scary weekend.
Yeah, well, it's a little scary start to the year. You looking very stylish, me not so much. So we'll lose the costumes because it's bowling, and it's time to get rolling. Jim Fox from right here in Grand Island is the first challenger up to try to end the hot streak of Mike Zarcone. Jim Fox, a regular bowler here at Grand Island's Mallwitz's Island Lane, so he's got a little home lane advantage, Sue, to see, and he'll need every little bit of help he can get against the red-hot Zarcone.
Absolutely. We'll see what he's made out of.
So here's our first roll for Jim Fox, 44 years old.
Very nice.
And a nice way to start things off. We welcome in the third member of our broadcast crew here for this first match. It's our buddy Mike Mallwitz here, one of the owners of Mallwitz's Island Lanes. And as we get our first look at Mike Zarcone, you know Jim Fox pretty well. Obviously, he's a regular here at the Lanes. We'll let you talk a little bit about Jim in a moment. But here he is with 10 overall wins on Beat the Champ, number 1 on our list. His 4 weekly wins is tied for number 1 on our list. He is the 4th Beat the Champ bowler to sweep a week. He did that last week, and he is on a current streak of 4 wins in a row. Does it get any hotter than Mike Zarcone right now?
It'd be hard-pressed to find someone hotter than Mike Zarcone right now. He's on fire, and it's going to be really tough to knock him off.
Yeah, and I think to some degree, Sue, and this is what Jim Fox has to overcome, is a little intimidation. You're bowling against the king right now, and there's nobody better than Mike Zarcone, and Jim's got to be thinking about that a little bit.
Well, except you're in Jim's house. This is where he bowls, this is what he knows, and this is where he feels comfortable. So he's probably feeling pretty good about being here.
Mike Zarcone coming off a successful show last week, where he had wins over John Masiello and Jeremy Zimmerman amongst his 3 victories last week, along with an earlier victory over Gary Kenyon. So Mike Zarcone's bowling great right now, and it's Jim Fox's job to try to slow him down. So Mike, give us a little insight into what we can see here from Mr. Fox.
Well, not only is Jim Fox a regular here and he bowls league here, he's actually my cousin.
Oh, well, then you really know him, don't you?
Yeah, I taught him everything he knows. So if he strikes a lot and wins today, I taught him everything he knows. If he loses, then I got nothing to do with it.
So he's hung around here almost as much as you have then, huh?
Yeah, he's been married to my cousin now for, well, geez, he's going to kill me, but I'm not sure. Since I was a little kid, so I'm not supposed to remember that kind of stuff.
So a good start for Jim Fox with strikes on the first 2 frames. 44 years old, parts manager at Detroit Diesel, been bowling since he was about 17 or 18 years old, so a long time bowling for Jim. And he'll get that 7 to fall, but not the 10. So a chance for the first spare.
Is that a 10-pin up there?
Fox.
I couldn't even tell that was a 10-pin. I couldn't see by the glare off of Jim Fox's head there.
Oh, ouch. First shot across the bow right there. I noticed you're not wearing any Halloween costume. She made me put one on. What's your deal?
I got off the hook, I guess. I didn't get the memo.
I guess not. Although we do have the festive Halloween atmosphere here at Island Lanes. I see you got your assistant bowling manager, Frank N. Stein, over there on the,
oh yeah,
we're keeping an eye on things.
Frank N. Stein shows up every year. He's a staple here.
No, so we're having a little fun over the Halloween weekend here as we get you ready for that holiday with some outstanding Beat the Champ bowling. And we're back to Mike Zarcone.
actually around Halloween when we bring out Frankenstein, a lot of our league bowlers say that he looks a lot like Brandon Nagati, who was on our first Beat the Champ show this year in January. So, you know, Brandon Nagati, Frankenstein, they're interchangeable.
You are relentless. There's the Castellone
Is
Chrysler
anyone
Dodge.
safe? That's what I want to know.
Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard manned as always by Janelle Saban. And what it's showing early on is a pretty even match here as Mike Zarcone finishes off the spare in the third frame. So Jim Fox with a little bit of an edge thanks to strikes in frames number 1 and 2. I rattled off all those stats for Mike Zarcone, 48 years old from Tonawanda, been bowling since he was about 7 years old, and one of the outstanding bowlers in Western New York, headed into the Greater Buffalo USBC Hall of Fame later on in the month of November.
2 4-pins in a row.
Yeah, I was just saying, that's the second time that hung up on him. Why is that happening?
The lanes could be drying up a bit. You know, they've had a decent amount of games on them. So it might be time for some adjustments, and we'll see if they can keep up with it.
So what's the adjustment then if Mike has to do something here?
Well, I noticed the first shot out of the gate, he kept it in a little bit more. Threw it is a little bit straighter for him, and he didn't like that because he left a 10-pin and it hit a little weaker. So now he's kind of back to using the dry boards to bring the ball back,
right?
And it's a little bit too dry for that. So I'm guessing he's going to move his feet a little bit left.
I would move my feet left. You still have to use those dry boards to
right
turn the corner in order to carry the 10, but yeah. See what Cousin Fox has for us.
There you, Cousin Fox is up now for the 4th frame. Nice, big strike, his 3rd so far. Jim bowls here on Monday nights in the league at Island Lanes, and then bowls here on Friday nights. Probably bowls here pretty much anytime he wants.
Yeah,
right?
last night he was called in as a sub, and he actually shot his highest set of his life last night. A lot of that going on lately here.
Wow.
He shot a 761, and that was his highest overall.
Yeah, how about that? Just the night before the taping here, Jim Fox getting himself ready for the show with that 761 that Mike mentioned.
Nice shot.
Boy, he's pounding on some pins here, isn't he?
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
Oh.
And the 10-pin will not go down. And you saw a little disappointed look on the face of Jim Fox, not only for having the streak come to an end, but knowing that he's got to match shot for shot with Mike Zarcone. Don't forget to stay tuned for the release of the Modern Window Word of the Week. That's going to be right after the show. You can win $5,000 worth of new windows complete with installation from Modern Window. And there's our Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard. So Jim grabs the spare in the 8th frame. And we'll see whether that winds up being crucial or not.
Right now, Jim's down 3 pins to Mike. Depending on what Mike does, he's got to strike up, so Mike could increase that lead by another 10. Jim doesn't seem to be all intimidated by being on TV. Has he ever bowled on TV before?
I don't believe so. I'm actually impressed with him right now because he's throwing it pretty well, and it's his first time on the show. Oh.
And
wow.
we've seen first-timers take a little while to get their legs with the TV lights and the camera 4 feet away from them and hearing us yammering in the background.
Heck, the first time I was on the show, I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? I could hear you in the background. Every word you say, every time you bring up my name, I'm like, what's he saying about me?
It's got to be a little distracting, right? It takes a little getting used to.
Yeah, it took me a while to get used to it. I mean, you got to learn to shut that kind of stuff out. But just knowing that you're on TV, you know, that's pressure alone.
Well, I think I was nice to you in that first night. I didn't make any comments about your shirt or anything like that, or
no, you were good.
You know, your haircut. I think I was okay.
But now. Anything is game.
Yeah, now it's game over.
Yeah, you can say what you want.
All bets are off now. So
just wait till next week.
Well, he did feed us a very nice lunch, though. So we should at least go easy on him here. For the
How were the wings, by the way?
The wings were excellent. You billed them as some of the best in Buffalo, and You got my vote.
All right. That's what I'm talking about.
There's another strike for Mike Zarcone. He sees an opportunity after the back-to-back spares from Jim Fox, and that's what makes those icy veins of Mike Zarcone so tough to beat.
Yeah, barring anything disastrous here, it's looking like Mike's going to come out on top.
I'll tell you, Jim really put some pressure on him with those 6 strikes in the first 7 frames, but as we've seen over the, not even, last week we saw it in one frame. One slip up on one frame can be the complete and total difference.
And that'll do it. Mike Zarcone. Holy cow.
One thing you can say is when he needs to strike, he has made great shots, and he's actually been able to find a way to strike, even at times when his reaction kind of lost it a little bit, as far as, you know, his good hit strike percentage-wise. Every single time he needs to, he seems to step up to the plate and get it done.
If he needs to strike to win, whatever happened previously in the game where he may have 2-8-10 on that lane earlier, it doesn't matter. He's almost always going to strike. It's pretty solid.
7 in a row right now for Mike Zarcone to put away this match. It's going to get him his 5th consecutive victory.
Man's hard to beat.
He is almost unstoppable at this point. Now, all that said, his next match comes up against one of the other titans of Buffalo bowling in Tony Dolan. So, and look at that, the synchronized 7-10 fall to finish off an incredibly impressive 259 for Mike Zarcone. He does it in grand flair and style to finish it off.
Got to give it to Jim Fox here, though.
Absolutely.
First time on TV. I mean, the guy just crushed the pocket. You know, a couple of breaks here or there, but he had a solid game against a really solid bowler.
Yeah, so those new pins of yours just are not very forgiving, are they?
Yeah. Well, did you guys talk about that in previous weeks?
We did.
Yeah.
We did. Sue very eloquently and scientifically explained why the new pins don't fall as easily.
And it's a true story.
And she also mentioned she couldn't believe that you actually paid to buy new pins either.
What's that supposed to mean?
I did not.
I like stirring up a little trouble every once in a while around here.
No, but a lot of bowlers think that their perception is new pins are going to carry better than old pins, but it's like the opposite is true. Now, old pins that are completely disaster, they're going to hit flat and they're not going to fall down. But when you get that nice, you know, they're kind of worked in all nice, and they bounce around, they fly around. The bottoms are a little more rounded. You know, they definitely carry better than brand new pins out of the box.
Yeah, and that's what you said, Sid. That the bottoms being rounded has as much, if not more, to do with any of that.
Right, those flat bottoms just keep them steadier.
Yeah, there's square bottoms, and they're hard to knock down, but it also makes for a better bowling match because you have to throw that much better of a shot to knock them down.
Yeah, well, that's what Mike Zarcone did on the way to a 259 to 222 win over the impressive performance of Jim Fox. We'll talk to Jim. We'll talk to Mike as he shoots for 6 in a row in our next match when we come back to Mallwitz's Island Lanes on Grand Island. You're watching Beat the Champ. Was another terrific match, but it winds up with another victory for Mike Zarcone, his 5th consecutive win. Jim Fox, in your Beat the Champ debut, you handled yourself well. 6 strikes in the first 7 frames. Might have got this guy wondering a little bit what he was in for.
Yeah, I gave it my best shot. Yeah, Mike's a great bowler.
Overall, you happy with the performance?
Absolutely. I'll give it a shot. I'll keep going.
All right, well, we're going to see more of Jim Fox moving forward, and we can't avoid seeing any more of Mike Zarcone, can we?
Well, like, you know how to bear down when you really need to. What's your mindset when you need to get up there and strike?
Well, I just clear my mind and just throw strikes, throw my best shots, and I thought I threw the ball good that game, so it paid off.
We made it look easy.
Yes, he did. A 259 to 222 victory for Mike Zarcone. So now you've got a chance to win your 6th in a row. Only one other bowler has done that, but you got Tony Dolan to get through in order to get there. So it's Zarcone and Dolan, and it is next on Beat the Champ at Island Lanes in Grand Island. Match number 2 features Mike Zarcone against another familiar face. That is Tony Dolan. Sue, we have seen Tony Dolan an awful lot. This is his 7th appearance on Beat the Champ, and talk about good, solid, consistent. Some of the best bowling in Buffalo comes from this gentleman.
Absolutely. This is a sight we're used to seeing. Tony Dolan up on the lanes, Mike Zarcone up on the lanes.
Yep, and Tony Dolan with a strike to start things off. So I think that's what's been a lot of fun here on our 3rd week here in Grand Island. We've had some great matchups with Kenyon and Masiello and Zarcone and all these. I mean, these you're seeing some of the best bowlers in all of Western New York, and they're going against each other. And they're matching each other strike for strike.
Yeah. It's nice to see some familiar faces that people are kind of used to seeing in their household on Saturdays and Sundays. And then, we filter in a few new people every week. So, we got a nice touch of a regular bowler, and then we get to see some new faces too.
At Beat the Champ TV, hashtag Beat the Champ. Like the Beat the Champ page on Facebook for all the latest information about qualifying and results and bowling chatter from the Western New York bowling community. There'll be some chatter after all of these shows start to begin airing with the absolute dominance of Mike Zarcone, looking for his 6th win in a row, looking for his 12th Beat the Champ individual game victory. There's barely a record on our show that Mike Zarcone doesn't yet hold, and the one I know he would like to get a hold of now would be getting that 6th win in a row to tie Matt White, who did that earlier in the year. Meanwhile, Tony Dolan, I mentioned this is his 7th appearance on the show. He has won 7 and lost 5. He has just one weekly trophy win, which is a bit of a surprise. That came back at the Kearns Avenue Bowling Center, which was early in the year. But Tony's been probably on almost every show but one, and he's always very consistent, and he's always very solid.
Right.
Good spare pickup for Tony Dolan there in the 2nd frame.
But in the beginning, when he first started making the TV shows, he was very serious and not very animated. But I see now he's become very comfortable being on the show.
See, we've rubbed off on him a little bit.
We get a lot more smiles out of him.
Yeah, we've rubbed off on him a little bit. Tony is 40 years old. He's from West Seneca, self-employed in the precast concrete business, so gives him the flexibility that he needs to play as much and bowl as much as he would like. And I think that reflects in the outstanding performances and the current average of just over 230. He's got mom and dad here cheering him on at Mallwitz's Island Lanes. Always has a good cheering section with him.
Solid spare.
Spare in the 3rd frame for Tony Dolan. And now we move back to Tonawanda's Mike Zarcone, age 48. His wife Teresa here cheering him on. And again, it's, we joke about it, is we're going to have to start paying him a co-hosting fee because he bowled the 3rd match of our first show, and then obviously we've seen him at all 3 matches in week 2 last week, and now he's in the 2nd of our 3 matches here this week. So
that ball hooked up just a little bit high on him. I don't know that he thinks it's a bad shot. It just got into that dry, hooked up high, making a very difficult conversion.
What do you try to do here?
You try to hit the 4 going away, 4-7, slide it over.
So it's going to wind up being an open frame, 9 pins in the 3rd.
But because you're on a double, you want to make sure of the 2 on a double, because it counts as if you miss it, you lose 4 pins on it. So something like that, when you're on a double, you want to make sure you get a maximum pin count.
Sure, and the double came from the first 2 strikes in the first 2 frames, so Mike can shake that off and go right back to work here. We've seen this happen. It's happened a few times where Mike has had one of those odd throws and open frames, but I'll tell you what, there's nobody better at bouncing back from any form of adversity than I think we've seen on this show other than Mike.
Right, as we just saw there. Just left it behind and clears his mind and starts over again.
Yeah, and you and I have talked an awful lot about this, and I think I have the most admiration for the veteran bowlers like Mike and Tony, and who can shake those off, because not everybody does. And I was talking briefly in our break with Jeremy Zimmerman, who bowled against Mike in the final match of last week's show, and Jeremy admitted, he goes, he had an open, he left a 7-10 split in a tight match late in the 7th frame. He said, I couldn't get it out of my head. And where that's where guys like Mike and Tony can go, oh well, 7-10, oops, where am I going next?
Right. And you got to be able to do that. You can't take it back. There's nothing you can do about it. You get the maximum pin count, and you make your plan for the next lane.
But that is so much easier said than done.
It is, but you do learn over the years that you can't change it. Just you got to leave it there.
Well, and I think sometimes who you're bowling against plays into that a little bit too. If you're going up against Mike Zarcone and that happens to you, you know, uh-oh, I may have just cost myself. Because you know you got to be almost perfect to beat the great guys like Tony Dolan and Mike Zarcone. So Tony Dolan with a strike in the 5th frame keeps the pressure on right now. He's holding a lead at the moment. There's the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard. And there's a look at Mike Zarcone, 5th frame. And he got a few of those pins to slide over and bring down the 7, and it's a strike, 2 in a row in the 5th for Mike.
So it looks like on lane 8, Mike's not trying to open the lane up as much. He's really trying to, they must be getting very dry to the right, and that would make it hook up too high. So it looks like he's trying to keep it in a little bit and go for that light swish hit that we talked about before.
Another strike, 6th frame, 3 in a row for Mike Zarcone.
We're going to be back with more Beat the Champ bowling action in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
Yeah, and that's very impressive. It's impressive to see that he, and I think that you'll tell me that comes from experience, right? You know exactly, okay, I've seen this 10 times in my career before. When it does A, I need to shift to B.
Right.
That ball seemed to lose a lot of steam towards the back end of the lanes, and that's why Tony Dolan leaves those 3 pins lined up on the left side.
I think Tony got that to the right of his target. I think he was inside of target on that. That ball looks like it completely different from his other shots.
2-4-7 to try to knock down for the spare, and he gets them.
Good spare.
Good rescue by Tony Dolan. And this remains a tight match between these two outstanding Buffalo bowlers. Tony Dolan bowls regularly on Monday nights at the Broadway Sports Center, bowls at Spare Time Bowling Center on Wednesdays, Fridays at Abbott Lanes, and Saturdays in the Western New York Travel League, and maintains an average somewhere around 225 in all of them. Nice strike, 7th frame for Tony Dolan. 2015 Obenauer Masters champion was Tony Dolan. 2014 Obenauer Masters champion, Mike Zarcone.
Wow. We talk about how big that tournament is in this town.
It is by far the biggest and most prestigious, and every bowler has always told me it's the ultimate test of your bowling ability over a lengthy period of time. In the Obenauer, you have done something. 4 in a row now for Mike Zarcone. Strikes in 4, 5, 6, and 7.
He's just widened the gap a little bit every frame. He's now looking at a 27-pin lead with that strike.
Mike bowls Monday at Classic Lanes, Wednesdays at Airport, and in the same travel league on Saturdays. Average for Mike over 230 from those 3 leagues that he bowls in. And he'll leave the 4-pin to end his stretch of 4 consecutive strikes, but still holds the lead as he goes for 6 wins in a row. there's the spare to finish off the 8th frame for Mike Zarcone.
So he's got a 26-pin lead, but Tony with this strike up here can cut that down.
Don't forget to stay tuned for the release of the Modern Window Word of the Week. It'll come right after the show. You could win $5,000 worth of new windows, complete with installation from Modern Window. Big strike, much needed in the 8th frame for Tony Dolan. Tony's told us the story about a bit of hectic run for him qualifying for the matches here at Island Lanes. He was also involved in Joe Mercurio's tournament up at Kenmore Lanes. So he was at Kenmore, at Grand Island, back and forth. I think in one day he was back and forth twice, making sure he was here for the roll-off. But I don't think Tony ever minds having to go from one bowling alley to another and one tournament to another. A little wobble from the 7-pin, but it will not go down. And we want to make sure, even though it was a couple of weeks ago, that Tony asked us to wish his mom, Marge, a happy birthday. That was early in the month of October, so happy birthday to Marge Dolan.
Well, I think I should take this opportunity to wish my mom a happy birthday today,
There you
October
go.
29th.
Absolutely. So it's a 9th frame spare for Tony Dolan. And now it's back to Mike Zarcone for 9 and 10. There you go.
Great shot.
Another big strike for Mike Zarcone.
So
That
Mike
is-
maintains a 17-pin lead.
5 of the last 6 have been strikes for Mike Zarcone. So what's Mike looking to do here in the 10th frame?
Tony's maximum score is 217, so in order for Mike to shut him out, he will need really a spare and good count.
Instead, he gets the strike and clinches yet another victory. 6 in a row for the amazing Mike Zarcone. A run on Beat the Champ that we have seen only one other time. And Mike Zarcone is just putting on a show for all of us here in Western New York with this incredible run of bowling that will result in yet another victory. And now it puts him into a position to do something that no one has done yet on Beat the Champ, which is sweep back-to-back weeks, if he can get through his next match against Chris Labiak.
Wow, that is quite an accomplishment.
That is an incredible accomplishment. We've only had 4 bowlers sweep a week since we started the show in January, and now Mike Zarcone's in position to sweep back-to-back weeks. And look at how he finishes. He just finishes with a flair for a 244 score for Mike Zarcone.
By the time Mike's done bowling, it's going to be winter. He's going to have to lose those shorts.
Well, yeah, maybe. Or maybe not, based on the way he's bowling. We may have to force us to see another month full of Mike Zarcone's
Exactly.
legs. Well, tough going for Tony Dolan. As good as Tony is and as consistent as he is, he did not strike enough early in this match, and you can't do that against Mike, not the way he's bowling now. It's going to be a good score for Tony Dolan, but it's not going to be enough. I feel like when Tony bowls on this show, he always runs up against somebody really, really hot.
It does seem like it's been that way the
really
last few
seem like
times.
that. You know, because he's always bowling well, yet the results don't really show that. And I think that just has something to do with who he winds up matching up against.
And he also brings out the best in the person he's competing against as well.
I think you make a very good point there. So it's a 244 to 217 win as Mike Zarcone wins his 6th consecutive match. I don't know what else you have left to ask Mike Zarcone about this incredible run, but you'll come up with something, and we'll talk to Tony Dolan as we wrap this match up. It is Beat the Champ at Mallwitz's Island Lanes on Grand Island. We are back right after this. Well, this time it's Tony Dolan who is the victim of this incredibly hot streak of Mike Zarcone. And as Sue and I just said, we feel like you are always bowling well, but you always run into the hottest Beat the Champ bowler.
It falls that way, but the way this program's designed, you're kind of always bowling the better bowlers each week and week out. Anybody can throw that big game, and you just hope to be on the plus side of it every now and again.
I know you've been competing against this guy for a long time. Can you give us a little perspective on the run that he's on right now?
It's amazing to watch. It's fun to watch. It's good, and it just picks up that ball, and you kind of know he's going to strike. So you just sit back and watch and enjoy.
Well,
you know, he's just going to ride that as long as he can.
That's
Keep
pretty
it going.
well said, Sue, isn't it?
Yeah. We can't ask any more questions about what's happening out there. All you can do is keep going, right?
Yeah, I feel like I'm throwing the ball pretty well and carrying for the most part, so hopefully we can get one more in.
Is there a sense, Mike, where because you bowled so much that you just know when everything is working right?
Yeah, I know when my game's working, and so far today it's been working.
All right, well, he's got one more match to try to win a 7th consecutive match and pull home another trophy. That's the match coming up against Chris Labiak. We'll see if the hot streak can continue. It's Zarcone and Labiak, and it's next on Beat the Champ. Final match of the day features this guy trying to knock off the red-hot Mike Zarcone. His name is Chris Labiak, 32 years old from North Tonawanda. Second time we've had a chance to see Chris here on Beat the Champ. We saw him back at our very first show up at the Rapids Bowling Center when we first got things started. Chris came up with a win and then lost his next match. So this is his second appearance on Beat the Champ. And welcome back, Chris. You get to bowl Mike Zarcone, looking for his 7th win in a row.
Yeah, that's a fine how do you do.
Oh, a little late messenger flies over and knocks the pin down for an opening strike for Chris Labiak. As you can see, two-handed bowler. Maybe that might be the difference in knocking off Mike Zarcone.
Although we've seen a lot of different kinds of bowling, different kinds of styles, and it doesn't seem to make any difference. But I can comfortably say now that every single match has started with a strike the whole time that we were here.
I think you're right, yes. And there you go. I love those synchronized 7-10 falls. I bet you Zarcone is planning it that way now because he knows it looks good for television.
He can strike so much, he just decides which kind of strike it's going to be.
Exactly. I want to make it look good on TV. 12 wins and only 4 losses in his run here on Beat the Champ overall all year long, but as we have emphasized, he has won 6 in a row. That ties Matt White for the longest winning streak on Beat the Champ, and a chance to break it. And there's another strike from Mike Zarcone. And if he does break it, that would give him his 5th weekly win trophy, which is one more than anyone else.
And we're getting.
So he would have a clean sweep of almost every record we've kept here on Beat the Champ if he wins this match.
Yeah, he'll be the goal everybody's trying to attain.
And that means we get to see him again next month at the Rapids Bowling Center too, because the winner of this match is coming back next month. So here's the two-hander, Chris Labiak with his second frame, and boy, good, strong power, and another strike for Chris. Works in the medical management field, been bowling only about 10 years. Started the sport late, and then if you recall from back at when we first saw Chris, he suffered an injury, and that's what forced him to try the two-handed bowling style that's become certainly more popular around the sport, and he has certainly adapted to it and taken to it rather successfully. Overall average right now, right around 230.
For as long as I've been around bowling, as much as I know about bowling, this particular style still astounds me. I can't understand how they can be that accurate and get that many revolutions.
Well, the revolution part is easy to figure.
Yeah.
All you have to do is watch one throw from Chris, and you can see the spin of the ball, the spin of the two hands creates this incredible amount of revolutions. But I'm with you. The accuracy is something that you're like, how do those guys get that? And once again, as Mike knows he's in a match, he responds.
That's right.
Just amazing for Mike Zarcone.
And Don't be fooled. These lanes have changed, and he has made little adjustments. I mean, there's no way that he could be bowling this long on the same pair and have changes not occur. And to us, we can't even see it because he's just making these small little changes as he goes.
You saw our first look at the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard, and helped as always by Janelle Sabin, keeping you up to date on the scores. And up until then, all the scores were pretty much X's across the board as everyone struck their way through the first 3 frames. But there is Mike leaving a couple of pins to try to make sure he gets taken care of here. Bit of an unusual leave there for Mike.
Oh, he knew that right off his hand that was going to be a problem. And now he's got a tough spare to convert. Nicely done.
Very nicely done. Nice spare pickup in the 4th frame by Mike Zarcone. And now we get a look at Chris. And the interesting thing about Chris is because of the way he bowls left-handed on Monday nights at Tonawanda, right-handed on Tuesday as a sub at Island Lanes, and then right-handed on a sub at Kenmore Lanes. So, it doesn't seem to make much of a difference, certainly not as much here with the style of the two-hander.
Well, left-handed, his average is a lot lower, 179. But still, to be able to do that.
And you feel like you just see the pins explode upon contact because of the additional revolutions and speed.
Absolutely.
2014 Bowler of the Year of the USBC Tonawanda Association, 4-time amateur bowlers champion going back to 2011. Lots of good accomplishments on the resume of Chris Labiak, who not snuck in, but winds up being our last qualifier for here at Island Lanes in the 9th qualifying position, which is why he's bowling in this match. He has his dad and his girlfriend Jennifer cheering him on here today. And another one, that's 5 in a row. 5 frames, 5 strikes for Chris Labiak.
Well, you mentioned in the first show the sound in the room because it's a smaller room and the walls are a little closer, but really magnified with Chris because his ball hits so hard.
Yes. We'll let you listen in a little bit when Chris comes back up again here. 5th frame for Mike Zarcone, who is once again in a match. And that 2-pin won't fall, and it'll have to be another spare opportunity for Zarcone, who now already is finding himself a little bit down on the scoreboard.
It's hard to beat perfect, and Chris is perfect.
It is hard to be perfect, you're right. I know you live with that every day in all parts of your life.
Chris is perfect.
Oh, I see. I got it. Good spare for Mike.
Perfect through 5 anyways.
Perfect. Right.
As far as I go, I have a few people that might argue at that point.
Not me. Not me. Well, although you making me put that Halloween ribbon thing on there for for our show earlier in the show, that knocks you down a few pegs.
I got a mask for you to finish though.
Oh, yippee. There's a good strike for Mike Zarcone, back to striking in the 6th frame.
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
Nice job in the 8th frame for Mike Zarcone, continuing to put the pressure on this guy, Chris Labiak.
He would really have liked to have that one there. Last frame, that would have really made this match a lot closer, but it's still up for grabs, just a little bit tougher now as we get further along in the match.
Pretty interesting statistic about Chris. He had a high of an 878 series, 279, 300, 299. That series included 31 strikes in a row.
That's
amazing.
Amazing.
And that's the first time he's left the 10-pin.
Actually left a 10-pin on this last frame.
Oh, you're right. Correction, thank you.
On the same lane. Yeah, on the same lane.
Right, the last time he was on lane number 8.
But he throws two-handed at his spares too, which is amazing to me.
For the accuracy.
Again, the accuracy.
So we remain tight in this one between Labiak and Zarcone as Chris will move to the 9th frame. And then make sure you join us. We're going to have some fun with next week's show. It's going to be the Island Lanes House Championship, and we've got a neat format. We've got 4-man teams. It'll be a lot of fun here. Mike Mallwitz came up with a pretty neat idea for our final show of the run here at Island Lanes, and that'll be an interesting and entertaining show for you next week. And then the winner of this match will move on 2 weeks from now to begin our play at Rapids. 9th frame strike for Chris Labiak. Don't forget to stay tuned at the end of our match here for the release of the Modern Window Word of the Week. You could win $5,000 worth of new windows complete with installation from Modern Window. So here's Mike Zarcone to finish things out, beginning with the 9th frame. It will not fall. Boy, I think Mike needed that one too.
He really did.
Boy, it slid about 3 inches across the pocket, but did not fall. So Mike will have to get the single pin spare.
Mike's going to need a lot of luck to win this match. He's got a maximum potential of 227, which is really only a spare for Chris.
So maybe this amazing run is coming to an end. We'll see. He's won 6 in a row. He's upped his overall record to 12-4. He's looking for a back-to-back weekly sweep. But we'll see if it happens. We'll know in the next 2 minutes.
Well, that's the funny thing about this game. You never really know. It all comes down to carry. It all comes down to execution. How people handle their own situation they're put in.
Well, I think Chris Labiak opening with 5 consecutive strikes when Mike only went through his first 3 before sparing in the 4th and 5th frame might have been where this all turned, and can't get the synchronized fall this time. A lot of wobble from the 7-pin. It will not go down. And a lot of the good things that have been happening to Mike just didn't necessarily happen in this match. So Mike Zarcone on the board with a 217, but we don't think it's going to be enough.
Nope. Chris has him shut out already, so we'll see Chris back at Rapids where this whole thing started for him.
Yes, we will, and even beyond that, it's Chris Labiak is the guy who ends the incredible 6-match winning streak of Mike Zarcone. And mostly because of shots like that.
Wow.
Strong and powerful and dead on. So Mike Zarcone will join Matt White as the only Beat the Champ bowlers to have won 6 consecutive matches. So he will share that record for the moment. Although he does, Mike Zarcone, hold the record now for most overall wins, and he is tied for the most weekly wins. It's going to take some amazing bowling by someone else to eclipse those marks, but boy, Chris Labiak, very, very impressive. He was not intimidated. He was not shaken at all by what Mike Zarcone has done. He has just come out and bowled his game and bowled it very impressively with strikes so far in every frame except for 2 when he spared the 6th and the 8th, and it's going to be enough for a victory. Final throw for Chris Labiak in the 10th frame. And what else but a strike?
Very nice.
To put up a final score for Chris Labiak of 259. He has knocked the king off the top of the mountain, at least for the moment. Chris Labiak with an impressive victory over Mike Zarcone. We'll find out the thoughts of both gentlemen and wrap up this week's stop here in Grand Island when Sue and I return on Beat the Champ. Well, Chris Labiak figured out a way to do something that very few people have been able to figure out, and maybe some thought would never figure out, which is kind of a way to beat you, 259, 217. Beyond what happened in this match for you, Mike, just reflect a little bit on an amazing run of 6 in a row.
Yeah, it's been fun. You know, I never would imagined this would have happened, but it was a good run.
Yeah, well, and we know there's probably another run and you're coming up somewhere soon, but in the meantime, the guy who's working on the run, Sue, is Chris.
Chris, that was some amazing bowling. What was your mindset going into this match?
I just wanted to go in there, and it's bowling, so I'm just going to do what I do. And it was a good result.
Yes, he did it very well today.
He sure did. So Chris Labiak is our winner.
trophy.
He will come back in 2 weeks to bowl again at the Rapids Bowling Center as he'll try to grab another one of those trophies. Sue and I will come back to wrap up another exciting week of Beat the Champ. Stick around. More bowling right after this. Well, with Halloween coming up, we tip our hats to Mike Zarcone, which is my excuse for getting rid of that goofy thing. You can leave that on. But amazingly, I didn't know that the run was going to end. Chris Labiak did an awesome job, but let's not lose sight of what Mike Zarcone did. An amazing 6 wins in a row.
Yes, it was very amazing. It was a fun Halloween show, and it was a great bowling from Mike Zarcone.
Yeah, we saw great bowling. Tony Dolan and Mike Zarcone, and then Chris Labiak, the two-handed bowler, just powering his way through the pins, and we get to see Chris coming back. But make sure you come back with us for next week. We're going to have a little fun. We're going to do one more week here at Mallwitz's Island Lanes with a little house championship. Should be fun, I think, right?
It should be fun.
All right, go do your trick-or-treating. I'll take some of the chocolate if you have any extra. You have a great Halloween weekend. We will see you next week on Beat the Champ.